Okay, Nick and Andy, let's now preview a massive game coming up, the League Cup final, Chelsea against Liverpool at Wembley Stadium. This is a repeat of that epic 2022 final we had where Liverpool won on penalty kicks and Kelleher was the hero. Nick, favourite for this game. This is a really weird situation because on paper, before the injuries, you said Liverpool have got this in the bag. Chelsea have had a terrible season. But now I'm almost leaning towards Chelsea being the favourites because they're on a bit of form and Liverpool have been hit by injuries galore. So how are you feeling about these two teams going into the final, mate?
Extremely weird, Joe. I'm feeling extremely weird. Liverpool also played at midweek with that shorthanded roster. But geez, betting against Liverpool in a final for trophy, which, if I'm being honest, might be certainly it's a one game. This is their best chance because you're guaranteed if you win to get a trophy in Jurgen Klopp's final year. Whew. And did you see him against Luton Town doing the old 3 fist pumps to the whole crowd after he beat Luton Town? He is not about, he's about the moment right now, and this is a big moment. And I'm going to find it very difficult. I would love you guys to talk me into it, especially for my son who likes to wear blue. Talk me into Chelsea coming away with something here, because Liverpool just seems to show up in these games, and they were arguably dreadful in the first half against Luton, and they were unstoppable in the second half. And that seems to be, you're going to get 45 minutes of near perfection from them at some point in the game. And I don't know if Chelsea can handle that.
Yeah, that's what happened the other game against Brentford, where they won 4-1 as well. Not great in the first half, but then did enough in the second half, overtook the game, and then it looks pretty comfortable. So there's going to be, I can make a case for Chelsea that there's going to be chances for them, just given the changes in lineup, the combinations that haven't played together for hardly ever for Liverpool all over the pitch. But I think, Andy, they've been hit so badly by injuries, but the likes of Kelleher in goal, Bradley at right back, Elliott stepping up. I mean, all of that. And then Nick mentioned at the start, the chance to give Klopp a trophy in his final season in charge. That's the X factor and almost seems to be driving these young lads on to reach levels that I don't think even they or Klopp knew were attainable. So it's all kind of a perfect swirling chaos right now for Liverpool. And that's kind of where they're at their best, I think. But I did speak to Kelleher earlier in the week, and he's been practicing taking his penalty kicks just in case. But he told me that he doesn't want it to get to that stage and for Liverpool to take care of business in 90 minutes. But I think this is going to be a really tough matchup for them against Chelsea, especially the way that we saw them counterattack against Man City recently.
Yeah, it must be nice to have a team that's so talented when they're at their best. You only have to really show up for 45 minutes of a game. You don't have to put together 2 flawless, perfectly executed halves to come away with 3 points like it feels like a lot of teams do. And that's, I think we lose sight a little bit of that is kind of the difference from that elite tier at the top, especially in the Premier League, and kind of everybody else that exists below them. And while I do think Chelsea have kind of dragged themselves a little bit closer in recent weeks to getting, I don't know, they're not there. They're functional now at this point. And I think that's a huge compliment for Chelsea compared to where they were at the start of the season, because it was chaotic and it was chop and change. And I know a lot of that was necessitated by injuries, but it does feel like Mauricio Pochettino now, with having had a few weeks with most or nearly all of his players and the players that cost so much money the last couple of seasons, to work with them in training and to get his ideas across to them. And so we're starting to see them not flash and not dazzle and not really entertain, because that's not what Pochettino teams are about, but they are very difficult to beat. And they were very difficult to beat for Man City on the weekend. And so that's probably the performance that he's going to look at and say, that I need that again. I need that level of commitment, that level of performance. Just every single challenge and pass and header needs to have that full commitment. And that's Pochettino right there. And so that is why, I guess, 2019 Champions League final aside, his teams usually show up in big games, because they have the game plan, the mentality. I think it's more than the game plan. It's the mentality of, we are okay being the underdogs. We are okay making this game ugly because we don't think you want to play that way. And I don't think Liverpool at this point in time do want to play that way. And so while I think obviously Liverpool have the top end talent that Chelsea aspire to have at this moment, but I do look at that little bit of X factor and that motivation and the momentum, I guess, that it is that Chelsea are building up. And it makes this a lot more interesting than I thought it would be, especially after listening to you guys talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool's injuries, I mean, Salah and Nunez as well didn't play against Luton in midweek. They're kind of touch and go for this game. So that is huge, I think, in terms of what Liverpool can achieve in this one, as well as the stand-in players and youngsters have done. To have those two up top would give them a totally different dimension in this game. And I just wonder if it's kind of one game too many in this run for Liverpool, where they've just been going to the well and just keep on almost vibes of getting them through, and they're running on fumes a little bit at the moment. So it's a cup final at Wembley. They're going to be fired up for it. But I just think Chelsea having that whole week's rest before this, having that blueprint now against Man City, where it's going to be a similar game. They're going to have to bunker in. They're going to have to defend deep. But the players they have fit and available and in decent form now are Raheem Sterling, Cole Palmer, Nicholas Jackson was really good against Man City. These are the players that they're going to need to be effective to win against Liverpool when they're actually playing well in a counter-attacking style that isn't going to be the Pochettino style for Chelsea long-term, I don't think. But right now, in this little bit of time, it's working. And maybe it is, Andy. Maybe it is a change in style, and he's going to work that better with the players that he has now at Chelsea and go away from his blueprint a little bit from the high pressing, because that hasn't worked for most of this season for Chelsea. But I just think, Nick, that this is really, really tight, and I'm looking at some of the battles across the pitch that could decide this final. I mean, in midfield, Enzo Fernandez against Alexis McAllister, the two Argentine teammates there. I think that'll be a great scrap in midfield. And also someone like Raheem Sterling, if he starts sort of out on the left, Connor Bradley, if he starts at right back, I mean, that's a really intriguing battle. But all over the pitch, there's so many. So what have you got your eye on, mate, in particular for this game?
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of due for a breakout game from a couple of Chelsea players. And if that comes today, I mean, we have not seen anywhere near the best or the very good of Christopher Nkunku, for example. And at some point, you want to see something there that tells you, hey, this isn't the guy who flashed very rarely at PSG. This is the guy who showed up and gave you 30 to 40 goal contributions this season at Leipzig. So yeah. I'll be watching how Pochettino lines them up. Is it using his electric pieces off the bench, or is it looking at a Liverpool team that, aside from McAllister and maybe Gravenberch, could be there for the taking? Could be there for the taking. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the lineup to me is where I'm going to make my judgment. And I don't know. Andy knows better than us, but like, what are we going to see from Mauricio Pochettino in his plan to try and win this game?
Andy, what do you think? I mean, prediction-wise, going for a score pick here. I mean, this is like we said, there's so many different factors into this one. Chelsea's form, Liverpool's injuries, who's going to be fit for Liverpool for this game. It's a really, really difficult one. Almost destiny in the background and fate for Pochettino's first trophy in England, or, you know, Jurgen Klopp's potentially final trophy with Liverpool. There's so many storylines swirling ahead of this final.
It's going to be close. I think it might go long as well. I think we might get 30 extra. I think Chelsea are going to no, I take that back. I think Liverpool are going to prevail in the end. How do you pick against Mo Salah if he plays? But assuming that that was the plan when he picked up the injury, was we have to earmark this game. That has to be the target. Everything that Liverpool do at this point of the season is so calculated and so planned out and so thought out ahead of time. And I just feel like there is a big moment. And we for all the conversation about Klopp, there's a very good chance this is Mo Salah's last season at Liverpool as well. And do you think he wants to go out with, not obviously, you know, win the Premier League, maybe win the League Cup, but to have a big signature moment to point to as well, to kind of end that portion of his career? I think just, I don't know, it feels like that's what's coming around the bend for Liverpool at this point of the season. So I'll go 2-1 to Liverpool.
Nick?
Honestly, guys, in every other world besides Jurgen Klopp's last year, I'm telling you, I think Chelsea wins this game. I really think so. But it does seem orchestrated, Joe, and you tipped me. I didn't know what I was going to pick, but it does seem orchestrated. He announced he was going to leave 2 days after they clinched their spot in the final. Like, and you know he thinks about this stuff. All right, let's start getting people excited for Wembley. By the way, this might be my last chance to get a trophy. I just think he's that calculated, and I think Chelsea's going to win, but I have learned to not bet against Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. And so let this be one of the last times I ever have to have this conundrum. I'll say Liverpool will win.
I'm going to say Liverpool are going to win as well. I think it's going to be on penalty kicks. And I think after speaking to Kelleher in the week, he is so calm and collected. I think he is just one of those goalkeepers that thrives in those kind of situations. And I would give Liverpool the edge if it went down to that. But I think it's going to be really tight. I think we're going to see Chelsea, very well organised, take a lot of confidence from that performance and result away at Man City. And it's going to be really, really close. And I think Liverpool, as I mentioned, having some of the stars back fit will be huge for them if they can get Salah and Nunez fit to start. But they're not going to be able to play the whole game. And I think it's going to be about these young guys stepping up for Liverpool. And can they do it at Wembley in a cup final against Chelsea, who have a bit of rhythm now about them? It's going to be really close, but I can't bet against Klopp and Liverpool right now either. And there seems to be some destiny about their finish to the season here across all 4 competitions that they're still in. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. We'll keep you updated with all the latest from Wembley, Chelsea against Liverpool, League Cup final. Let's see who wins the first trophy of the domestic season in England.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.